This is Bill Miranda, and the show is SCV 101. We like to bring you the information of what's going on in our community by the people who are helping to make it happen. And today we have a local wonder. We have Rebecca Mendoza, who is a real estate agent, broker agent here in Santa Clarita. And we're going to learn not only about her life and career in real estate, which has been very successful, but we're going to learn about SOS, serving our seniors. Rebecca, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Good. I'm very happy to have you here. And I'm so excited about hearing about SOS and about your real estate ventures and adventures. But first of all, for those few people here in Santa Clarita who don't know you, tell us, where did you grow up and how did you get from there to here?
Well, I'm LA born and raised, Southern California girl. I actually was born in the Valley. So I was born in Encino, like, oh my God, I'm a Valley girl. And I lived there until, my parents moved out to Santa Clarita in 1987 as I was going into 11th grade. So, and as soon as I graduated, I moved back because I didn't like it here, to be quite honest with you. My friends were all still in the Valley. And then when the 94 earthquake hit, I was in Granada Hills. And the house I was in was red tagged. And my parents lived in North Valencia. And they had one teacup fall out of their cabinet. And I moved back to Santa Clarita, and I've been here ever since.
Fantastic.
Yep.
What high school did you graduate from?
Out here, I went to Saugus High School, and I ended up actually graduating from Bowman.
From Bowman,
yes,
okay.
Loved it. It was wonderful for me.
Wonderful. Good. And then what did you do after you graduated high school?
So work-wise, I went to work for a restaurant that I'm sure a lot of people know about. Was my main job, which was Wolf Creek Brewery. I started working there before it was even open. We didn't, no brew kegs, no seats in the restaurant or anything. I was hired. So I was there from day one. And I worked there until right about the year 2000. And I actually met my husband while I was working there. He came in, I had started as a server, then I became a bartender, then I was the bar manager, then I was a restaurant manager, then I met my husband, and I got into real estate in 2000. And I got into real estate because a lot of the people who came in, who were like the regulars, one of them was a very popular real estate agent, very productive real estate agent at the time named Carol Crandall. I don't know if you remember her. It was a long time ago, 25 years, because it's been 26 years since I've been in real estate. But she talked me into getting my license. She said, you know, you're very relational, you know a lot of people, and I can tell how much you love to serve, and that's what I do. And so I got into the business, and that's where I started my career.
Wow.
Yeah.
From restaurant, from bar.
Yeah, I was a bartender. Yeah.
From bartender to
management.
To,
yeah.
And then you left the restaurant business.
In 2000.
Real estate.
Yeah, I thought I could do both a little bit at a time, you know, because I loved working in the restaurant. I loved bartending. It was not like working to me. I could go in and just hang out with you, you know, and you'd give me money. You'd tip me and leave me money. And it was fantastic. It felt like being with friends. And I'll be honest with you, that's what I've loved about real estate is I get to have the same experience with people. And I think I create that experience where it's a very relationship oriented transaction and business. And so when I'm working, it's like I get to build new relationships and be with friends. So it's almost not like working. It's awesome. I really, really love it.
How did you build, because you're a very successful real estate agent here in Santa Clarita. How did you build, as they say, build your book? How did you build your business? Well,
that's a great question, and a lot of us do it differently. And there's no one way, but my way was by, at first I started doing a lot of open houses where people would come in and meet me, and then I would do a good job for them, and then they would refer me business. And my business has always been referral based. And what what that means for me is that, number one, I do a good job for people, because no one's going to refer you if you don't take very good care of them. But everything that I do with my friends and my family and community members, I'm always looking to provide value for them, because I just believe I'm a servant at heart. And so I want to connect people with resources and do different things. And it allows me to get to know more people. So that's how I built my book of business, was like, when I meet somebody and you tell me what you're interested in, might have nothing to do with real estate, but if you're interested in a certain thing, and I can hear, oh, he would be great talking with Jane, who does this exercise program, or, it may not be real estate related, but community related. So I'm a connector. Yes.
We said it at the same time.
That's right, yes. I am a connector, and that's really, honestly, my skill set and my passion. And that's how I've grown my business. And what that led me to was connecting with other business owners and business people, because most businesses at the foundation are very much the same in terms of how do we find business. And a lot of it is referral, like business. Right before we were talking off camera, I was talking to you about a service that I use, that I absolutely love. And you said, we should talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
So, that's really how it works out in the world with people. You do right by people, you do a good job for people, and they're the ones who are going to want to connect you with their friends and family. And that's how I've built it.
And you said something very key. It doesn't necessarily have to be about real estate. It's not like you're out there pushing real estate.
That's right.
You're out there serving, and connecting people with other people is a very important part of being successful in life.
Well, I'll tell you too, I'm not very comfortable pushing real estate or pushing myself on people. And I think that my natural way of being in that way has led me to see the success of just being of value to people. And that way, people know what I do. Believe me, I talk about real estate probably ad nauseum, because I am very passionate about what I do and how I do it. And so people know I do real estate. It is, what can I do for you in your life and in your world that is valuable to you, and because it's not always real estate. Back when I first started, I believe the statistics said that people moved like every 3 to 5 years. That's changed drastically, right? So back then I didn't need as many customers because people were moving multiple times. But now that statistic is well over 10 years. And since everyone's got these amazing interest rates nowadays, that's even locked down more. No. People aren't moving like they used to. And so what does that mean for us is we need to grow our networks even larger, right? So that we can be helping people. But it might be 10 years since I've sold you a house. How do I keep in communication and keep in your world? Because I don't want to say, Bill, do you want to move? Nope, I'm staying here forever. And that's one of a lot of my clients, and we'll talk about how I got into the serving our seniors, is a lot of my past clients that I've sold houses to, I've found that they want to stay there for the rest of their lives. They want to age in place, we'll call it, right? They don't want to move. And how do I still continue to serve them and bring value into their life? Because I don't need you to move, but definitely I get referrals, if I'm helpful. And so that is very important to me, that I find out about what people need and connect them to that.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I like it. Young people today don't necessarily envision themselves owning a house, raising a family.
That's right.
How has that impacted your business?
Well, the average age for a first-time home buyer now is over 40.
Wow. Amazing.
Right? Just take a second to let that sink in, And so how that impacts me personally is, of course, I have to know more people in order to have business going. But I always look at ways of what can I engage in, or what can I do to help those families, people who are getting married, to set them up for success, to maybe get them into the game a little bit sooner, a little bit earlier than the average person. You know, what I'd like to talk with you about is what I'm doing with the senior real estate and helping them, because who my client really is in that is we call it the sandwich generation. I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of that. But let me tell you what that is.
Tell me.
So the sandwich generation are people like myself, my age, who is, I won't share exactly, but I just had a birthday in my 50s.
Whoa.
And I have kids I have teenagers who are still in high school and still at home. And then I have parents who are, you know, I'm not 100% responsible for and taking care of, but I absolutely have a major hand in supporting what they're up to and helping them with decisions, helping them with a whole lot of things as they get older in life and they're retired. So the sandwich generation is people like myself who we've got our kids on one end, one piece of the bread, and then we've got our parents on the other, and we find ourselves responsible for a lot.
And don't forget, you got yourselves in the middle.
Yes.
So you're three generational.
100%. So if I look, you know, a lot of my clients are those people, and they're responsible for helping their parents maybe downsize, move into a smaller, more manageable home. A lot of people are coming from a two-story, like in Santa Clarita, look at what we've got here where people live, you know, a lot of two-story homes in wonderful neighborhoods that stairs aren't good for their parents anymore. So I do a lot of consulting, a lot of, can they stay here? Is it safe for them? And at that point, if they want to stay there, maybe they have a bedroom downstairs. And they're fine living in the room downstairs, and maybe they need a little bit of construction or adjustment to modify their house so it's safer for them. You know, these are things that I can sit and help people with. But mainly, you know, those sandwich generation, we need a lot of support. We're stressed. There's a lot. But going back to helping the younger generation and newer families save up or find out how they can afford a home, because I don't care what anybody says, prices are not getting any more or any less expensive or more affordable. They're just not. And I talk to a lot of people who are waiting. I'm waiting for something to happen before they decide they're going to buy. They're waiting for interest rates to go down, or they're waiting for home prices to go down. But those two things don't happen at the same time, right? And so getting people set up on a plan and saying, what will you gain if you were to buy today, regardless of a interest rate or regardless of a sales price, because they don't always look long term. They're looking at what they can afford today. And if you were to have said 3 years ago, I'm going to wait for interest. Remember when interest rates went a little crazy?
Yes.
And if you were to say 3 years ago, if you could afford the payment and say, I'm going to wait for interest rates to drop, well, prices have gone up a significant amount from that time. And we're at the same place right now than we were before interest rates went really insane, which is right about that, just, you know, over 6%.
The thought, what was it, about 5, 6, 7 years ago, you know, you would know more than I do. The interest rates went down into the 3s.
Yep.
Well, I'm a lot older than you are, and I got to tell you, I'd never seen interest rates in the 3s.
Nobody had.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so for people today, if they're doing it, I don't know if they're doing it, but I hope they're not. If they're thinking we're going to go back to the 3s,
No.
and they're going to wait for the 3s,
Yes.
you're going to be waiting forever.
Well, consider what happened when interest rates were in the 3s. I don't know if you remember what the market was doing at that point, but it was insanity trying to buy. And people were literally writing offers over $100,000 in some cases of what the list price was, because they were competing with 25 other buyers because the interest rates were so low. So rates were amazing, but prices went crazy. And whatever savings you were saving in your payment, couple that with higher property insurance rates, higher closing costs, higher down payments, it almost washed out a lot of the savings that people had, at least in the short term. Of course, if you're going to keep your loan for 30 years, then that's going to catch up to you at some point. But honestly, and you've probably owned a couple of houses, or you've I'm for sure had several mortgages, nobody keeps their loan 30 years.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So now, if you've got a 3-4% interest rate, oh yeah, you're not going to be refinancing anytime soon, unless, of course, you need to tap into the equity of your home. And this is where we find a lot of people that are liquid poor. Right? They don't have a lot of money liquid, but they might have a lot of equity in their home. So they've got equity, but they don't have cash, and they're struggling. And so and they don't know, and they say, well, I'm locked into this rate, I don't want to change. And if we could get interest rates down to a certain percentage, and I don't know what that percentage is, but the consensus is if we're in the 5s, even the people who have an interest rate of 3%, if they've got to make a move, they're going to start doing it. It will unlock some more inventory. So that's another we could have that conversation. I could talk about this for an hour and let you know like what the scenarios we need for X, Y, and Z. But that's honestly one of the things that I really love to bring to the table when I talk with people, is just to let them know this is what's going on today, and this is what's real behind the headlines. You know, we live in this world right now of just the sensationalism of, and I don't mean that in a good way, but like just drama and craziness happening in the news, and we're only locked into the messaging that the powers that be want us to have. For example, we're very hyper-focused on the Fed cutting rates. Like that's everything in the news. That's what I hear from my people who are interested in buying. Well, the Feds are going to do X, Y, or Z, and not really understanding that the mortgage interest rates aren't completely correlated with the Fed rate. They're related, but they are not connected. And so there's a lot of misinformation that people have. And so one of the things I love to do is sit down and just inform. It's one of the reasons that I started the Serving Our Seniors Network, is to become and get a group of people together whose mission it was to really inform people without those people feeling obligated to buy a service or use someone to do something, because that's a fear that people have. They're afraid to call me sometimes to ask me a question because, and I don't think it's a Rebecca thing, but I think if I call a real estate agent to ask a question about something, they're going to hound me to the ends of the earth.
They're going to bombard me.
Right? And I want, and they do, and we do that with a lot of different services that we'd love to know more information about. But once we raise our hand, we're just so afraid that we're going to get, harassed. And so the reason I started the Serving Our Seniors Network was that I wanted my clients especially, but the public at large, to be able to come to us for the information that they needed to not make necessarily just an informed decision in the moment, but create a plan for the upcoming stages of their lives, and for me, their parents, to sit with their parents and make educated decisions about, does mom keep her house and maybe we move into it if she ends up in a retirement community, or once she passes, or whatever that process is. I'll tell you, there's a lot of people, and this might sound a little morbid, there's a lot of people they're not going to buy a house until their parents pass and pass down some of that money. And they don't know that there are actually options out there that could have them tap the equity in their property, give it to the kids now so that they could get their foothold into the market now, because every 10 years, it averages, it's not exact, but prices double. Home values are doubling every 10 years. So there's anomalies to that, like the market crashed if you looked at 98, right. Or, of course there's circumstances, but the difference is that if you're waiting for your parents to pass, there's options. And I want people to be able to come to me with, hey, what are my options, without feeling obligated to use me for a service.
Fantastic. I'd like to segue into SOS. Yeah. Because, first of all, I'm going to ask you what prompted SOS, and then tell me all about it.
Well, I'm going to try to nutshell it, because it could be a long story, but the basics is this. I started because I'd been selling real estate for 25 years. I call it my database, right? My people, my clients, they just were getting older and older, and and moving out and downsizing or relocating out of the area. And I started finding myself working with older people, especially like the parents. And when I did that, I started noticing that I really needed a lot more services. So I needed to add people to my team. And what I mean by that is handymen, you know, if you're in your house for 30 years, there's going to be some things that maybe haven't been updated or fixed or changed. So I needed good handymen, roofers, contractors. You know, those are the natural things that people need when they're selling their homes. But then I also started finding, for example, I had one woman, this was the catalyst, to be honest with you. She was a friend of my mom's. She grew up in her house, and her parents still own the house that she grew up in Canyon Country. So it was built in the 60s. They'd owned it since the early 70s. And I mean, the house still had great condition, very clean, still had shag carpet in the bedrooms. And her mother and father had lived there. Her mother had dementia, and her father took care of her mother. Well, her father passed away, so she had to find a place for her mother to move into a retirement community that had memory care or dementia, Alzheimer's support specifically, as well as deal with all of the stuff in the house that they'd accumulated over all those years. So I needed to find her an estate sale person. I needed to help her find a placement person to help place her mother. We needed contractors to come over to do some updating and some cleanup and those kind of things. And I found that I had to give her all these people. I had to find all these people to support her. And of course, she was emotional. She was an emotional wreck as well because her father had just passed and she didn't know what to do. And when we were done with that transaction, and it was very stressful for me also because I'm managing and hand-holding a little bit more than normal, but I recognized when she was done with it, what a relief it was that it was all over, and she was so supported, and she, you know, shared with me like, I wouldn't have survived this without you and your team. The light bulb went off for me and said, I need really good people around me, because the people who need me in that situation, this is a very sensitive situation sometimes. And I need to trust the people I'm referring. I can't just go to the Yellow Pages or to Angie's List. These have to be vetted professionals that I know are going to operate and work in the best interest of my people. And that is how it got started. And another part of that puzzle, as I shared with you, where I get my business is networking with other business people, because I can help, you know, them grow their businesses and things like that because of my background in real estate, of how I grew my business. And those two worlds came together. And that's how SOS was created. That's how it was born.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And again, serving our seniors.
Yes.
I'm a senior and my wife is a senior. My mother-in-law, my wife's mother, passed away a couple of years ago. And we had to do all of that ourselves, and we weren't prepared for it.
No.
And interesting, because you had mentioned stairs before in seniors. Mm-hmm. And I could be totally wrong, but it's what I think. My mother-in-law used to walk up 2 flights of stairs to her condo. Old Orchard 1, there's no elevator. Oh, yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. She used to walk up and down the stairs. She was 102 when she died.
Right.
And she probably stopped walking up and down the stairs when she was 101. Mm-hmm. And she claimed, because we kept saying, you can't do this, you're going to fall down,
right.
You're going to get hurt, something's going to happen. And she kept claiming that the fact that she walks up and down the stairs almost every day.
It contributed to her longevity.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So we were like, well, but we really want to move you to a single-story place.
Right.
And I don't want to move. She lived there for years.
Right.
40 years, whatever.
Well, and that just, I mean, wonderful story. That just, it proves my point that there's so many different scenarios and people that it's not a one thing fits all. And how do we find that out? You know, if we sat down and talked and you said, well, Rebecca, these are my concerns and this is what I'm looking for, my advice to you would probably be like, let her be.
Yeah.
Let her be there. She's comfortable. She's happy. There's no reason, there was probably no financial need for her to move one place or another. And if that's the case, you want somebody who's going to give you that peace of mind, I guess, that like, hey, I think it's okay. You should do that. So, that's everybody's different.
Yeah. So seniors today, we tend to live longer. We tend to live healthier for a longer period of time, be more active for a longer, praise the Lord, for a longer period of time. And I'm generalizing, of course. What do you do when someone comes to you, a senior couple, nobody in the home except them? They've had a home for umpteen years and they're very passionate about their home.
Yes.
But at the same time, let's face reality, no one's going to live forever.
Right.
And no one's going to stay healthy forever.
Right.
And so, I'm a big proponent of, try and solve problems before they actually happen.
Yes.
And so some couple comes to you and says, well, we don't know if we should sell our house or not, or what is your process with them?
Well, the first thing that I would ask them, first I would ask them, if you could wave your magic wand, would you be here forever? The answer is yes already, right? And say, okay, what is that going to look like in the future? And you're talking to a married couple. We don't always want to talk about it, but what's going to happen when one of the spouses go? Because unfortunately, we don't go at the same time, right? And so, Mr. Owner, what do you want for your wife? If you've gone first, what do you want for her? We're social beings. We need to be with other people to survive and thrive and all of that other stuff. And they might already have a good family or social life, but sometimes they don't. They don't have an extended network. Well, what would be the best thing for your wife when that happens? Maybe you want to start looking into a potential retirement community at this time, just to see what would it look like to live in this kind of place. They have shared living homes. Because I think when we think retirement communities, there's a picture in our heads, right, about what that means. Mm-hmm. For some people, it's like, they're wearing the flamingo shirt and sitting by the pool drinking cocktails, right? And so for some people, it looks like they're in a convalescent hospital waiting to die. You know what I mean? And those realities are both exist, but you can go before that even comes. You can go take tours. Just like a lot of people will go to a new construction, right? Go to model homes.
Right.
Maybe one day, what would that look like? Well, you can do the same with retirement communities and community like residential care facilities. That might just have you have roommates with people and they have different levels of care. Some people, they don't need care. They don't need anything. They're self-sufficient. And then as people get older, they might need some help with activities of daily living, bathing help or cooking help or different things like that. And different homes will satisfy different needs. So I would say, let's go I wouldn't do it myself, but I would refer you to Bruce, who's a placement person. He's amazing. He's been he's a gerontologist, been in the business forever. And I'd say, just go take a tour of some places. That way you have peace of mind. You might not make a decision today, and you might not need it tomorrow or in a year from now. But that way you have peace of mind. When I go, this is what's going to happen. By the way, there's also insurance for that. Long-term care insurance, that people don't always know about or want to take advantage of. And I might say to you, maybe you want to talk to the Golden Girls, Peggy or Patty, who are in my group, who deal with insurance and deal with all kinds of things, financial and planning. And they can say to you, well, this is how much it might cost in the future, and this is how you could plan for it,
You make a great point.
Yeah.
SOS is not just you.
That's correct.
It's a group of people.
Yes.
All have the same mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Serve our seniors. Mm-hmm. They'll have the same mindset.
Yes.
And so it's not just you having to come up with all the ideas and all the programs and everything. You have a team of people that works together. There are at least a half dozen of you.
Yes.
That work together. That's awesome.
Right.
So a phone call to you is a phone call to your whole team.
That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I needed, was to have those people who I knew I could trust, that I could give referrals to and say, I want you to sit with Bill and his wife and talk about what they can do for their future without them feeling pressured that they've got to take some kind of action today. And to add another layer of that, what we've done is we've started doing, because we're all on social media, and I don't care how old you are or how young you are, we're all there on social media. And one of the things that we started doing was creating some content, if you will, about frequently asked questions that people might have in regards to each of our industries. And then that way, if I was talking to you and I shared with you, you know, Peggy and Patty's someone you might want to have a conversation with about long-term care, or Bruce about placement, here's a couple videos where they answer some questions that you'd probably have. Go watch these, go and look at their answers. Look at what they do and they talk about. And then if you feel like you have more questions, if that opens something up, give them a call. They're happy to consult with you. Again, no obligation. So we've actually gone to the nonprofit space with this because we really want to be viewed as an education group. We want to bring our resources to people in a very safe way. I'll tell you, one of the things that I recognized, I mean, I don't want to say we're in a predatory society, but there's a lot of fraud out there. There's a lot of scams out there. And there's a lot of people who don't always have your best interests first and foremost. And so why I wanted to create this group was to give people connection to other services that they really have their best interests at heart. And we can't operate, because when you're a nonprofit, you're scrutinized, right? You have to hold yourself to a higher standard. And that's what we're trying to create, is that we're doing this for the community, you know, so that you can feel confident and comfortable that you're being taken care of. That's really what we, as a collective, decided to create. So we're giving you information, no obligation. Check it out on our website, check it out on our Instagram, our YouTube channel. And then if you feel like you need more, you know, you can tell already who we are.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I wish we had more time.
Me too.
We don't, but let's make a pledge.
Yes.
We'll figure out a way to make more time to get that message out to the community.
I have some ideas.
Okay. Okay. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we will. Okay.
Sorry we ran over a little bit, but I think the information we're getting here is just awesome. It's just awesome. You know, and whether you're a senior or a young couple starting out, there are ways to make things happen. Sitting and waiting is not a way to make things happen.
Right.
Okay. Take control of your life. Again, whether you're a young couple starting up or a senior family, senior couple, there are ways to make things happen so that the end result is something desirable to you. So thank you so much, Rebecca Mendoza. Love having you here. We'll do some more stuff together. We'll have you back on the show for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, please share this show with your friends and neighbors and family on social media and everywhere you can, because this kind of information is very important to a lot of families. You may be saving a family out there, so please share it. And until next time, this is Bill Miranda saying so long.